Think about it. You need to know how to fix a leaky faucet, understand a complex news event, maybe even learn a new language. Where do you often turn first?
Well, for so many of us now, it's online video platforms, isn't it? Especially YouTube.
Exactly. It's become this incredible, almost overwhelming library of information.
Absolutely. We've kind of shifted from relying on, curated sources to navigating this massive user-generated ocean of content.
Mhm.
And that raises a really fundamental question.
Yeah.
How do we know what's actually good in there? How reliable is the information we're finding when we hit play?
That's precisely what we're diving deep into today. We want to get a clearer picture of the quality, the nature of information in online videos.
And to really explore the range, we're looking at two pretty distinct areas.
Right. First, we'll tackle palliative care, a deeply important and often sensitive field of healthcare.
Okay.
Then we'll switch gears completely and look at how people are using YouTube to learn English as a foreign language.
We've gathered some fascinating material to unpack. We'll be looking at academic research that has rigorously analyzed YouTube videos on palliative care.
Giving us that expert perspective on their strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And then we'll examine transcripts from real English language learning videos, specifically those designed to help students prepare for the globally recognized Cambridge English exams.
So consider this your shortcut to understanding how trustworthy and, well, helpful online video can be across these very different subjects.
Yeah, the goal is really to equip you with a more critical eye.
To give you the tools to evaluate the videos you watch and understand what to look for. Okay, let's dive in, starting with palliative care.
Our first deep dive takes us into that crucial area, palliative care. We're looking at a study from Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University.
Okay.
It's titled A Content Analysis of YouTube Videos on Palliative Care. Basically looking at the quality and availability of online resources there.
So they wanted to really get a handle on what kind of palliative care info is out there on YouTube.
And crucially, how good it is.
Now, palliative care is a term we hear, but maybe it's worth just quickly clarifying what it actually involves, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. Good idea.
Yeah.
Palliative care is a holistic approach. It's for people facing serious illnesses.
Right. Not just end of life.
No, exactly. It's not just about the physical symptoms, but also addressing their emotional, social, even spiritual well-being, and supporting their families too.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be provided alongside treatments aimed at curing the illness. The main goal is always improving the patient's comfort and overall quality of life.
And with aging populations, rising chronic illnesses, this information is more needed than ever, right?
Definitely. Which makes online resources like YouTube increasingly significant. People are turning there.
So how did these researchers actually go about sifting through all those videos? It sounds like a huge task. It's more than just watching a few, I assume.
Oh, definitely. They used a very systematic method. They developed a detailed framework, almost like a coding sheet,
Yeah.
based on established research and guidelines for high-quality health information.
Right.
And this framework looked at several aspects. One was the type of content. Was it purely informational? Was it instructional, showing you how to do something? Or was it more about promoting a service?
Got it. Informational, instructional, promotional.
Exactly. They also looked at who uploaded the video. Was it an individual sharing their experience, a professional healthcare organization, a media outlet, or even a for-profit company?
Ah, the source. That seems vital.
Crucial. And then the big question, how did they actually judge the quality of the information itself?
Yeah, the reliability part.
They used a 3-point scale to assess 3 key things:
Yeah.
accuracy, completeness, and the overall reliability of the source and the info.
And how did they ensure consistency? Did one person do it all?
No. To ensure consistency, 2 specialists trained in palliative care independently reviewed each video.
Okay, that's good. Double checking.
Yes. And if they didn't agree on something, they would discuss it until they reached a consensus, a shared understanding.
That sounds like a pretty robust way to approach it. So what did they discover? What's the landscape of palliative care info on YouTube actually like?
Well, to really understand their findings, they compared them with other research in the field, which is always helpful context.
Right.
For example, they looked at a study by Johnson and colleagues that examined both Google websites and YouTube videos about palliative care.
Okay, comparing platforms too. Interesting.
Yeah. That study found that websites from established organizations, the ones high up in Google searches, tended to focus on core palliative principles, things like quality of life and relief from symptoms.
The main messages you'd expect, really.
Pretty much. So a good initial takeaway there is that established sources online often prioritize these key aspects.
But, I sense a but.
Well, yes, those websites didn't tend to talk much about palliative care for children, and they were mainly focused on cancer.
Ah, so even professionally produced online information can have certain blind spots or areas it doesn't cover as well?
It seems so. A bit of a limited scope in some areas, even from those more traditional online sources.
Okay. What did that Johnson study find about YouTube in comparison then?
This is where it gets really interesting. The Johnson et al. Study discovered that a significant portion, 60% of palliative care videos on YouTube, were personal stories.
60%. Wow, that's a lot.
It is. These firsthand accounts can create a really powerful emotional connection with viewers.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that YouTube serves this unique role as a platform for people to share their personal experiences with palliative care.
In a way that maybe those formal websites don't or can't.
Exactly. It highlights YouTube's strength in empathy and shared experience, a dimension less present in those more formal sources.
That makes sense. You can definitely imagine people searching for that kind of emotional resonance and connection when dealing with something so personal and difficult.
Absolutely.
But does that mean the information being shared in those personal stories is always, accurate or complete?
That's the critical question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University study also referenced research from back in 2015.
Okay.
Indicating that the factual accuracy of palliative care information found on Google had improved over time. So, some progress there.
Good.
It seemed Google was prioritizing educational content over that emotional comfort we see so much on YouTube.
Right. Different priorities.
But they also found that a lot of this information on Google was written at a 10th grade reading level.
10th grade. That sounds quite high for general public information.
It is. To put that in perspective, the average adult reading level is often cited as being around the 7th or 8th grade.
So that higher reading level could actually make the information harder for many people to fully grasp, even if it's accurate.
Precisely. So you've got this potential trade-off. Personal stories on YouTube offer empathy and connection, but their factual accuracy might be less certain, maybe less complete.
Yeah.
Professionally vetted information, say on Google, might be more accurate, but could be harder to understand because of the language used.
So it's this balance between relatability and rigorous information, and then accessibility, even of the good stuff.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about what you prioritize when searching for information, especially on something as important as health.
Exactly. Now, let's pivot completely. As you said, switch gears.
Okay.
We're moving from the often serious and sensitive realm of palliative care to a different kind of learning journey. Acquiring a new language.
All right. And specifically?
Specifically, we're going to explore the role that YouTube plays in helping people prepare for the Cambridge English exams.
Ah, right. Cambridge English offers a whole range of exams, like the B2 First, C1 Advanced. They're widely recognized as proof of your English language skills.
That's right.
And it's interesting that for the speaking part of these exams, they still do it face-to-face, don't they?
They do. The idea is to get a really realistic assessment of someone's actual ability to communicate, not just reciting answers.
Oh. Makes sense. So how does YouTube fit into preparing for that?
Well, this is where it gets quite practical. The English with Cambridge YouTube channel actually provides real-life examples of these speaking tests in action.
Oh, okay. So you can actually watch people doing the test.
Exactly. We've looked at transcripts from videos like B2 First Julie and Isabella and B2 First for Schools speaking test, Coqui and Chris, to get a sense of what the test involves and the specific communication skills they're looking for. So we're moving from looking at information about a topic to looking at examples of actual communication being assessed.
Okay, so what does this speaking test actually involve? Let's break it down. What do the candidates have to do?
Well, part 2 of the speaking test, often called the long turn, is quite insightful.
The long turn, okay.
Each candidate is shown 2 different photographs, and they have to talk about them for a full minute.
A whole minute on 2 pictures. What do they talk about?
The key here isn't just describing what they see. They also have to compare the photos, express their own opinions about them, and even speculate, guess about what might be happening or how the people feel.
Okay. Comparing opinions, speculating.
Yes, and there's usually a question written at the top of the page that guides their response.
Right. And then what happens?
After the first candidate has spoken for their minute, the other person who's been listening then has about 30 seconds to comment on those same photographs.
Just 30 seconds. Quick comment.
Yeah. And then they switch roles with a new set of pictures. This part really tests your ability to not just describe, but to connect ideas, express your own perspective.
And think on your feet in a limited time.
Exactly. That too.
Can you give us some specific examples from these transcripts to help us sort of visualize this?
Certainly. In that B2 First Julia and Isabella video, Julia was comparing two photos showing people enjoying their free time. One seemed to depict a group, maybe camping or working on a school project outdoors, in nature somewhere. Julia focused on, the enjoyment of the natural environment, the camaraderie between the people.
Mm-hmm.
The other photo showed what looked like an orchestra performing. And she speculated about their enjoyment of making music together, maybe their aspirations to become professional musicians.
Right, different types of enjoyment. And then Isabella commented.
Yes, Isabella then commented that she personally preferred the first picture, the nature one, because she loves being outdoors.
Okay, that gives us a good sense of it. What about the B2 First for Schools example with Kukwi and Chris?
Right. In that video, Kukwi compared two photos related to the idea of people trying to win something.
Trying to win, okay.
One showed a tennis match in progress. You talked about the difficulty there lying in, the skill of your opponent.
Sure.
The other photo showed a group of people in what looks like a marathon or a long-distance race. And he felt the challenge there was more about personal endurance, the effort of training.
Interesting contrast. And Chris's comment.
Chris then added that he would prefer to play tennis because he finds it more enjoyable and relaxing than, presumably, running a marathon.
Fair enough. And you mentioned they discussed other photos, too.
Yes. Later in the same video, Koch and his partner also discussed photos showing people socializing, one set in a city environment, the other having a picnic outdoors. They had to talk about them and then decide which situation they'd prefer.
So it's not just about listing what's in the picture, is it? It's really engaging with the underlying themes, offering your perspective.
Exactly. That's the core of it. And the speaking test goes beyond this long term.
Right. You mentioned part 3.
Yes, part 3 is a collaborative task. Here, the candidates are given a set of prompts, like different options or ideas related to a topic.
Okay.
And they have to discuss these prompts together, ultimately leading to a joint decision about something.
A conversation with a goal.
Precisely. And to get a deeper understanding of this part, we looked at insights from an article by someone known online as Teacher Phil, who specializes in these Cambridge exams.
Ah, an expert perspective again.
Yeah.
What were some of Teacher Phil's key pieces of advice for this collaborative part? What makes it work well?
Teacher Phil really emphasizes the importance of good interaction with your partner. That's key.
Right, it's not a solo performance.
Not at all. It's not just about showing off your individual English skills, but about having a natural and effective conversation together.
Mm-hmm.
He highlights the crucial role of using specific language phrases for giving your opinion clearly.
Like, I think, or in my opinion.
Exactly. And phrases for agreeing and disagreeing respectfully. Things like, so do I, or I disagree, or that's a good point, but...
Mm-hmm.
And also actively inviting your partner to speak.
What do you think, kind of thing?
Yes, exactly. Keeping the conversation flowing back and forth.
That makes perfect sense. After all, it is a test of your ability to communicate effectively with another person.
Precisely. He also suggests a useful strategy for the decision-making part of this section.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
He advises that one candidate should start by suggesting an option and giving reasons to support it. Then, the other candidate should ideally propose a different option, again with their reasoning.
Rather than just agreeing straight away.
Right. This back and forth allows for a more extended conversation and demonstrates a wider range of language skills than simply agreeing too quickly. Shows you can handle discussion.
He also provides specific examples of useful phrases, doesn't he? I remember seeing that.
Yes, he gives a really helpful list of phrases for expressing opinions, agreeing, and disagreeing. For instance, when it comes to disagreeing politely.
Which can be tricky.
It can. He suggests options like, I disagree, or I see what you're trying to say, but, which sound much more natural and nuanced than just a flat no.
Good point.
He also reminds learners about correct grammar, like saying I disagree, not I am disagree. Small things, but important. And another key point he makes is the importance of actively listening to your partner and directly responding to what they've said in your own contributions.
So not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. He uses an example of a discussion about, I think it was shopping trends on holiday, to illustrate how to respectfully disagree while still showing you heard and understood your partner's point.
Right. And Teacher Phil also analyzed examples of students actually doing this part of the test, actual performances.
He did. He reviewed videos of two pairs of students, Victoria and Edward, and Florine and Maria, Taking Speaking Part 3.
And what did he find there? Strengths, weaknesses.
He noted that Victoria and Edward demonstrated a good range of expressions for involving each other in the conversation. What about you? And for clearly stating their opinions. This led to a well-balanced exchange.
Okay, so they interacted well.
Yes. For Florine and Maria, he pointed out that while they did use some phrases to involve each other and show agreement, they could perhaps have broadened their range of expressions a bit more, used more variety.
Room for improvement there.
A little. He also observed that both pairs sometimes tended to discuss the points by immediately comparing them rather than addressing each point individually first.
Ah, so jumping to comparison too quickly.
Yeah, he suggests discussing each prompt on its own merits first is generally a more effective approach for that specific task.
Okay, so if you were learning English and aiming for one of these Cambridge exams, it sounds like watching these example videos, reading advice from someone like Teacher Phil, that would be incredibly beneficial.
Absolutely. You get to see what's actually expected, what good communication looks like in that context, and pick up practical strategies.
What struck you most from these language learning examples compared to the palliative care info?
I think the emphasis on active participation and genuine interaction really stands out. It's not just about having a wide vocabulary or perfect grammar, although that helps. It's about being able to engage in a meaningful conversation, express your own ideas clearly, and respond thoughtfully to your partner. It really highlights that communication is a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's step back now and look at YouTube as a broader platform for learning, considering both our dive into palliative care and language learning. What general observations can we make?
Well, the first thing is just the sheer volume of content on YouTube. It's staggering.
It really is. Hard to even comprehend sometimes.
Yeah, I recall reading that even way back in 2007, a study on Arcascio pointed out that YouTube accounted for a massive portion of all internet traffic then.
Wow, even back then.
Yeah. That really underscores its dominant position in the online information landscape. It's huge.
It certainly does. But with that vast amount of content comes that inevitable question of reliability, doesn't it?
Always.
We saw this clearly with palliative care, and it's just a recurring challenge with user-generated platforms.
Absolutely. And that other study we mentioned earlier, the one on evaluation of YouTube videos on HIs, found something similar.
Right.
It concluded that while YouTube has significant potential to disseminate important health information, the quality and reliability varied considerably.
And did they find patterns, like were certain types of videos better?
Yes, they noted that videos created by professional organizations generally had higher quality than those made by individuals.
Okay, that seems logical.
And the common topics covered in HIV/AIDS videos included how the virus is transmitted, basic information about the disease, and also activism-related content.
So, again, the source of the video really is a crucial factor to consider.
It seems to be one of the most important things, yes. A video from a recognized health authority is likely to be more trustworthy than one from an anonymous individual, no matter how well-intentioned that individual might be.
Precisely. And this connects to another concept, doesn't it? The knowledge gap.
Ah, yes. That was discussed in the article, Potentials and Limitations of Educational Videos on YouTube for Science Communication.
What's the basic idea there?
The concept suggests that as the amount of information in the media increases, those who already have a higher socioeconomic status tend to acquire that information more quickly than those with lower status.
Potentially widening the gap in knowledge between groups.
Exactly. While media coverage can have an impact, it doesn't automatically bridge that gap. Access doesn't always equal uptake or understanding.
It's a really important point. Simply making educational content available online doesn't guarantee equal access to or understanding of that knowledge.
No, it doesn't. The same article also briefly touched on the VARK learning style model.
VARK. What's that?
Visual, oral, read-write, kinesthetic. Different ways people prefer to learn.
Ah, okay. Learning styles.
And one of YouTube's potential strengths as an educational tool is its multimedia nature. It combines visuals, audio, sometimes text.
So it has the potential to cater to these different learning preferences.
Potentially, yes. More so than just plain text, for instance.
Okay. So, considering everything we've discussed, palliative care, language learning, these broader studies, what practical advice can we offer to you, our listener, when you're evaluating YouTube videos as a source of information regardless of the topic?
Yeah, what are the key takeaways? I think there are several key things to keep in mind. First and foremost, always consider the source. Who made this video? Is it from a reputable organization, a recognized expert, or an individual sharing personal experience?
Check the About section, maybe? Look them up.
Good idea. Look for evidence of accuracy and completeness within the video itself. Does it seem well-researched? Does it cover different angles? Be mindful of any potential biases. Is it pushing a particular agenda, or is it primarily designed to promote a product or service?
Right, the promotional aspect we saw in the palliative care study framework.
Exactly.
Ah.
For health-related information, it's generally best to prioritize content from established healthcare organizations or medical professionals. That seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
For language learning, seek out structured materials from reputable language schools or experienced teachers like Teacher Phil.
Look for credentials or affiliations.
Good point. And while personal stories, like we saw with palliative care, can be incredibly engaging and offer a sense of community,
Remember that they might not always be factually accurate or complete.
or universally applicable, someone's experience is just that one person's experience.
So it really comes down to approaching YouTube with a sense of, well, critical thinking, not just passively accepting everything you see.
Exactly that. YouTube offers an incredible wealth of learning opportunities, truly amazing potential. But you need to engage with it actively and evaluate the content you're consuming.
Okay, let's bring this deep dive to a close then. We've seen that YouTube is, without doubt, an incredibly powerful platform.
For both finding information and learning new skills across a vast spectrum of topics.
From really critical areas like palliative care to personal development like learning a new language.
But the crucial insight, I think, is that the quality and reliability of the content on YouTube can vary dramatically.
Yeah, hugely. And academic research, like the studies we've looked at, provides us with valuable frameworks for understanding this complex online information environment.
It helps us navigate it a bit better.
So as we increasingly rely on online video for so much of our information, it leads to a really important final question, a thought for you to consider.
How can individuals, creators, platforms, institutions, how can everyone work together to ensure that the information available on platforms like YouTube is accurate, accessible, and genuinely high quality?
And equally important, what role do you as a viewer play? How can you develop your own critical thinking skills to effectively evaluate this vast sea of videos out there?
And determine what you can truly trust.
Maybe think about your own viewing habits. How do you currently assess the information you encounter online? Something to mull over.